there's probably definitely rivalries on it. We got it! Boom, and then... I don't know, but you can check it out. So, when it is live like that, you can... edit?
It's studio.
Kidding, it's not. Perfect. Could just keep it that way. People can join our
back there where they have the computers. Okay. She's the only one who has keys.
We did it. Nice. We're good. What is that? So it is, like I said, it's simple, but sometimes. Alright, go people. I'm kidding. I said it enough there.
From here, probably about 4 hours, 10 hours. I praise you, but from the worship camp, about 5 minutes. As you speak, Go, Ray. I dare you. But you can't. Why not? You cheeky. Thumbs up. No, she'll give me thumbs up. Like, if you drive down the freeway, there's another.
I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. You know the Lord liveth, and blessed be the rock, let the God of my salvation be exalted. You know the Lord liveth, and blessed be the rock, let the God salvation be exalted. Oh, magnify the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. You know the Lord liveth, and blessed be the rock, let the God of my salvation be exalted. You know the Lord,
Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for us being able to come together to be able to worship you in your holy name, Lord, and be able to come together, be able to learn. I ask that you bless Ray, that you speak through him, that you open our hearts, and I want to say thank you for Lenore and for speaking through her and the welcome that she's given us. We love you, Lord. In your precious name. Amen. Amen.
All right, everyone, please stand up. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. sat by the road and he cried. The blind man sat by the road and he cried. The blind man sat by the road and he cried. He cried, oh, 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 show me the way. Show me the truth. Show me the
being the temple of God and us rebuilding God's faith or our faith in God. And so, 42,000 Israelites headed back to Jerusalem to build the temple. We talked, at the beginning of Ezra, how that seems like a large number, but it was a very small percentage of the Israelites who went back. And how easy it can be to not want to step out, to not want to take that risk, to get comfortable, whether comfortable in misery, comfortable in excitement, whatever, but to face that change. But 42,000 stepped out and went to rebuild the temple. And then we see in chapter 2 a whole long list of people that have went, detailed out because of their incredible faith. In chapter 3 we see them building the foundation and completing the foundation. And how did it go? Mixed. Isn't that life? God presents an incredible victory with us, and half the time we're happy, half the time we're miserable about it. Could have been better. I thought it would be much greater. And so easily, that ungratefulness, that heart of greed that we talked about on Wednesday, or that selfishness can creep in. Instead of just appreciating what's around us, appreciating what God has given us, appreciating what He makes available to us, we are taught into wanting more. Right. And Ezra, and in the book it teaches us celebrate. It's okay to party. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be content. It's actually a great spot to be. And so as we get into chapter 4, we learn something. When good things happen for God, expect pushback. Whether that be in your own personal life, in your relationship with God, you might be cranking it, you're faithful, you're doing great. Expect one thing: resistance. That there will be pushback. And that's what we see in Ezra chapter 4. Let's jump in. Chapter 4, verse 1. When the enemies of Judah and Benjamin heard that the exiles were building a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel, they came to Zerubbabel and to the heads of the families and said, "Let us help you build, because like you, we seek your God and have been sacrificing to him since the time of Esarhaddon, king of Assyria, who brought us here." The enemies, they're described as. Who were these enemies? And why did they want to help? And did they want to help? See, these enemies were, if you know that the group called the Samaritans were in the New Testament, this was the early Samaritans. So they're a really interesting group. So they come from the lineage, or the line lineage of the Israelites, but they've been doing a lot of intermarrying and things like that. And so their convictions had changed. So though they believed in God as such, they also believed in a lot of other things, as it says in 2 Kings 17. This describes that same group. They worship the Lord, but they also serve their own gods in accordance with the customs of the nations which they had been brought. So they served, worshiped the Lord, but they served the customs as well of the land they had lived in. How often do we struggle with that? We have the Bible. We strive to worship the Lord, but how often do we cave and give in to the customs of the land? The land around us. So I believe in Jesus, I believe in God, but yet our lives really reflect more the culture or the customs that are around us rather than the Bible, rather than Christianity described in the Scriptures. Religiousness, hypocrisy, self-righteousness. They worship God. So they may have gone to church. They may be people today that would claim Jesus, have all the right sayings and scriptures, but yet they follow the customs as well of the world or of the nation. We talked about that on Wednesday when we talked about greed and selfishness. The world's recipe, not God's. Even worse than the people of the world. That's the way they're described in the New Testament, that they're even worse, the Samaritans. So they're worse than the people that are out there just doing whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. These people are worse. Why? Well, because those other people, the people of the world, are honest. They're not pretending. They don't walk around, I believe in God, but they, live differently. No, they live the way they want to live, and they take ownership for that. That's way better than saying something, saying you believe, but then not following through. And that's the comparison. So did these people really want to help? Did they really want to help? No. What did they want to do? Absolutely. They wanted to infiltrate. That was the way you did it back then, and I would argue today as well. You join in. You create this dynamic that now it looks like everybody's unified and together. And then you sway them over time. Assimilate them. Right? Over time. That was their plan. We're going to get in there. We're going to work alongside of them in the name of God, but we are going to water down their convictions. We are going to change their convictions. Because if you get enough people saying the same things, the whole group can be swayed. So be shrewd, be wise. Just because someone says they are a believer doesn't mean that we should embrace them. Let's read. But But Zerubbabel, Jeshua, and the rest of the heads of the family of Israel answered, "You have no part with us in building a temple to our God. We alone will build it for the Lord, the God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, commanded us." Then the peoples around them set out to discourage the people of Judah and make them afraid to go on building. They hired counselors to work against them and frustrate their plans during the entire reign of Cyrus, king of Persia, and down to the reign of Darius, king of Persia. At the beginning of the reign of Xerxes, they lodged an accusation against the people of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Bishlam, Mithridates, Tabeel, and the rest of his associates wrote a letter to Artaxerxes. The letter was written in Aramaic script and in the Aramaic language. What happened? Did they just welcome them in? Shouldn't they have? They believed in it. They worshiped God. They're believers. But they said no. No is such an interesting word, isn't it? You know what no reveals? Your heart. And that's what we see. They said, no, you cannot be a part of this. And what did it cost? Perseverance and persecution. So much so they hired counselors. Dang. They paid people to come. Sure you got it. And they're all over them. Professional people to disrupt. They were serious. No. How would that work today? Would you say no to these people? They're offering to help build something that needs to be built. We don't have enough laborers. We don't have enough help. We need the help. I know there are a number of you that would go, come on, they're not that bad. We'll win them over. We got this. Let's just invite them in. They're just a little wayward, but they really belong to us way back. Let's have them in. And we would look, if you're honest with yourself, many of us would look at them as mean. You're mean. You're offering to help. We're disciples. We're Christians. We're supposed to help everybody. We're not supposed to say no. Not true. They said no. And it revealed the real heart. Could you say no? Could you say no to someone? Do you set boundaries? Can you draw lines? Can you think of any examples? I can think of a bunch. And I'm telling you, our generation had a hard enough time saying no. We got pretty good at it. The millennials don't even know what that word is. Your language is acceptance. Accept everything, all the time, everywhere. Well, you're wrong. Acceptance is a good thing. But so is no. And so is setting a boundary. And so is drawing a line. And both need to be respected. Unfortunately, today, only acceptance gets accepted. No, and boundaries get judged. Well, you're so loving. How could you not welcome that person in? How could you not accept them? And that's judged. Because I have boundaries and I need to protect myself. Because I have boundaries, I need to protect my own faith. I need to protect my own walk with God. And you know what? God's okay with that. God actually is okay with me saying no.
Right?
Because if I don't protect myself, what good is it? That's what they're talking about. They wanted to protect what they had. They come. You know, the 42,000 of them, they were unified. And they wanted to work together and they needed to protect it. And there was this, look at how determined these people were. 3 generations. 3 different kings. They passed it on to their kids. And their grandkids. Go get them. Persevere with this. Break in there. Help them water this down. We will always. No, that's not true. When we are doing well, expect resistance. You know how you know you're doing well? You get some resistance. probably look at yourself and go, am I really doing well with God? Am I really faithful right now? Because you will. Satan doesn't like it. He is going to come out at you. These people got hurt because the word no was used. They fully expected, obviously, that they'd be welcomed in and that they could be a part of it. And they said no, and they got hurt. And we can get like this. We can get hurt. Who here has been hurt? Who here has been hurt by someone in the church? Who here has been hurt by the person next to them? Just testing. Shanisha, both sides or just one? Both sides? Okay, yeah. Shanisha win. It's honest. It's what's going to happen. You know, it doesn't matter how much we talk about it. We're all messed up, right? We're all sinners. We all blow it. So you are going to hurt each other. It's what you do with it that matters. And so if we don't deal with it properly, we get bitter. And we get angry and we get vengeful. We keep trying and trying to tear down what others are building. And it's amazing that over time we get really sneaky at it, like these guys. Whenever good things happen, expect pushback. Expect Satan to try and distract. Try to disturb the good things that are happening, to curb the good that is being done. That's his game. That's what he wants. Just think about it. If he can get you all concerned and worked up, guess what? You will be distracted. The Israelites were building the temple. They were trying their best to let nothing stop them. And we should strive to do the same. Building God's temple, which is in you and me. We're his temple. Let's read on. Verse 8. Because these guys are amazing. You know, they tried to, generations, they tried the same sort of coming at them and it didn't work. So look what they do now. This is awesome. Ezra 4, verse 8. Rehum, the commanding officer, and Shimshai, the secretary, wrote a letter against Jerusalem to Artaxerxes, the king, as follows. Rehum, the commanding officer, and Shimshai, the secretary, together with the rest of their associates, the judges and officials, over the men from Tripolis, Persia, Ebek, and Babylon, the Elamites of Susa, and the other people whom the great and honorable, really long name, deported and settled in the city of Samaria and elsewhere in the Trans-Euphrates. This is a copy of the letter they sent him to King Artaxerxes. From your servants, the men of Trans-Euphrates. The king should know that the Jews who came up to us from you have gone to Jerusalem and are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city. They are restoring the walls and repairing the foundations. Furthermore, the king should know that if this city is built and its walls are restored, no more taxes, tribute, or duty will be paid, and the royal revenues will suffer. Now, since we are under obligation to the palace, and it is not proper for us to see the king dishonored, we are sending this message to inform the king, so that a search may be made in the archives of your predecessors. In these records you will find that the city is a rebellious city, troublesome to kings and provinces, a place of rebellion from ancient times. That is why this city was destroyed. We inform the king that if this city is built and its walls are restored, you will be left with nothing in Trans-Euphrates. What's the motto? If at first you don't succeed, pull in outsiders. That's what they're doing. They couldn't succeed. They couldn't break in, and so what do? They pull in outsiders and they speak to their fears. Jump on the internet, check them out. You'll find out what they're. Ding, ding, ding. And it speaks to people's fears. That's what's going on here. They couldn't get to the Israelites despite their relentless efforts, so what should they do? They talked to the powers outside, stirred up trouble from the outside, and worst of all, brought up the fears of the past, that the Israelites were rebellious. We see this all the time. First of all, it's within us, right? We want to find that person that will listen. We want to find that person that we can pull in, that will agree. And then we can't. So we keep going and we keep finding somebody new. And unfortunately, when a troubled area like this, when people are rebelling and people are trying to tear something down, they just keep going. And you know what happens? We keep responding. Because they find a new mother, a new person, or better yet, a new Savior. It's called the Savior complex. And we all struggle with it. If only I had dealt with that situation. If only I was the one in that circumstance. If I was marriage counseling them, there was no way that they would be divorced right now. If I was just the one that was walking with them and discipling them or teaching them, none of this would have happened. I need to get involved. If I, and something leaves the building, it's called history. It's called the fact that this has been going on for a long time, and then you get no response because you run out of saviors. And so where do you go? Outside. Let's find another savior. See, these people were hurt. And you know what happens when we hurt? We do something. It's called grieve. And grieving is a legitimate human response that needs to happen. And if we interrupt the grieving process, we mess people up. And so when we play Savior and we dive in and don't let them grieve, we hurt them. That's grieving. I like it because it shows it goes like this. Because grieving is all over the place. We go through phases of denial. Didn't happen. We go through phases of anger. Right? We're mad. We're blaming. We're doing all these things and we go back and forth from anger to denial to blaming to depression to testing. And when we're hurt, and we've been hurt, because often it's an accumulation of hurts, you gotta grieve. It's okay to let people hurt. You rescuing them or diving in and being the Savior doesn't help. Over and over again, you're thwarting the way God designed it. They need to go through this journey. But if we keep rescuing, diving in, pulling them out of it, it creates something really, really bad. It doesn't help them. They get stuck and they start to believe lies. Stages of grief. We just want to fix it. Maybe you've never struggled with that. Sorry. I'm judging. I'm a Mr. Fix-It. I love problems. I love problem solving. And so it's too easy for me. For years, I was the ultimate savior. I thought I was. I'd walk into a situation, whether, like I said, marriage or children or whatever, whatever drama or whatever stuff was going on, and I would think, good thing they called me. Of course, I didn't say that. Usually. But my actions showed that. Because I dove in, I thought, oh yeah, I know that Ed got was on that. I heard Ed got one too. And we laugh, but guilty? Yeah. So easily we forget. Maybe, just maybe, they're hurt. And maybe, just maybe, they just need to be listened to. And maybe, just maybe, they don't need to be fixed. And maybe, just maybe, they need to go through some anger, some bargaining, some denial, some depression, and even mobilization. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe just God's plan is right. His design is good. And just maybe, if we allow them to go through it, they can get to that point of acceptance and learn through that journey. But if we suffocate them and try to fix them, we're going to bump them out somewhere in that journey. And it doesn't help them at all. Not at all. I got this. I can fix this because I've got the Bible. Yeah, no, the 20 people before you didn't have the Bible. I just have a good understanding of the Bible. We convince ourselves in so many ways. Others have tried. What's really going on here? Have you ever slowed it down and said, maybe they're true. Maybe they faced a lot of hurt. And this was just the one hurt that put them over the top. It seems insignificant. Somebody just said no to them. Well, maybe that was it. Maybe it's at the last straw and now they're in full-blown grief. Listen. Don't rescue. Let them go on this journey. Turn them to who? To God. And you know what is saddest? For us that call ourselves Christians. We don't allow the counselor to work. They hire counselors to disrupt, but you know what? If you're a disciple of Jesus, you have the greatest counselor ever within you. Do you believe that? Do you believe that your neighbor, that person hurting, that person struggling with something, do you believe that they have the best counselor already? Do you really believe that? Or do you think you are? Or you can find somebody that's better than the Holy Spirit. See, we don't believe that. We struggle with believing that the Holy Spirit God actually resides within us. We struggle with that. Imagine if we could believe that. Imagine if we could believe that the Holy Spirit is in each and every one of you. And that if we would just learn to listen to the Holy Spirit, if we just learn to stay in step with the Holy Spirit, if we just learn to turn to the Holy Spirit, just maybe, it would be better. Not fixed, because that might not be the journey, but better. And see, this is our problem. People can accuse us of being works-oriented and not grace-oriented enough. I disagree. I say we're not Holy Spirit-oriented enough. Because if I've got the Holy Spirit truly within me, I can't pay a counselor enough money. I'm not dissing on counseling or therapy, because we need those things. But here, often as disciples, we think we're the counselor. And we dive into waters we shouldn't be diving into. Somebody hurting? Somebody lonely? Somebody going through tough times? Listen and pray. And get them to pay attention to the Holy Spirit. Get them into the Word of God. Get them back with the one that can give them the peace through this time that you cannot bring to them. Direct them and coach them where they need to go. And that's to God. And tap into the Holy Spirit that's within them. Instead of just jumping into the fray. I got this. I'll protect them. Let them go through it. Situation goes on, and we never think, why am I being pulled into this now? Ever thought that? You've been pulled into a situation. Did you ever slow it down and go, and maybe ask the question, how long has this been going on? Oh, 3 years? Oh. I wonder why I'm being pulled in now. You ever asked that? There's a reason. You weren't close to them. That's the reason. They pulled in their closest first. The closest obviously were exhausted. Now they're on level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now they're on. Now eventually, what's really ironic, if you track this kind of stuff in family, it's really interesting because eventually they get to their enemies in the family, and all of a sudden they're friends. It's really weird. I've seen this. I've seen it. It's crazy. And somebody will say, well, we need help. And I'm going, so you're reconciled with that person now? Yeah. You used to despise them. Praise God. But they find this commonality in misery or something, or now they're the savior complex and they can save these people. So it's really strange what happens to us. That's what's happening. And let's look at what ends up happening. Let's finish this off. Verse 17. The king sent this reply to Rehum, the commanding officer, Shimshai, the secretary, and the rest of their associates living in Samaria and elsewhere in the Trans-Euphrates. Greetings! The letter you sent us has been read and translated in my presence. I issued an order and a search was made, and it was found that this city has a long history of revolt against kings and has been a place of rebellion and sedition. Jerusalem has had powerful kings ruling over the whole of the Trans-Euphrates, and taxes, tribute, and duty were paid to them. Now issue an order to these men to stop work, so that this city will not be rebuilt until I so order. Be careful not to neglect this matter. Why let this threat grow to the detriment of the royal interest? As soon as the copy of the letter of King Artaxerxes was read to Rehum and Shimshai, the secretary, and their associates, they were immediately they went immediately to the Jews in Jerusalem and compelled them by force to stop. Thus the work on the house of God in Jerusalem came to a standstill until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. What happened? It worked. Pulling in the outsiders. Outsiders jumped on the internet, found out all this garbage, and shut them down. The work halted. We'll face obstacles, and our work will be halted at times. That is a reality. But it's what we do with that time that matters. Do we just conform? Give up? Or do we strive to do what is right? When we allow hurt and bitterness to go unchecked, the work of building God's temple will stop. If we allow hurt and bitterness grow in our hearts, God's temple in us, God's work will stop. It will stop cold. We can start to believe our hurts. And then our hurts actually become truth to us. But as we can see from the last verse, it will get started again. It will. How? How will we get started? Well, you got to come back for that. We'll go to house church next weekend. But I'll give you a hint. In a few minutes, we're going to take communion. That's my hint. What's communion? It's all about reconciliation. You see, it's all about God sending His Son, who was innocent and perfect, who died on the cross for our sins, because we're not innocent and not near perfect. He was died, He buried, and He was resurrected. Why did that all happen? So that we could be called God's children, so that we could be a part of His family, so that we could be forgiven, so that we could sit at the table with Jesus, so that we could call Him friend. Did we earn it? No. Did we deserve it? No. Can we earn it? No. Can you do enough? No. You can't. You can't get enough counselors. You can't get enough conflict resolution people in there to work it out between you and Jesus. You just can't. Jesus did it all. He just said, you know what? It's gone. I forgive you. It's called grace. And through this grace, we can be reconciled to Jesus. There's nothing we did that warrants that. And you see how that's the key to this story or our lives each and every day? Because we live in a world, we live with other humans, who hurt us. How do you think you're going to resolve that? How do you think you're going to work that out? Sometimes you can. Sometimes we're mighty enough and powerful enough and humble enough to do that. But you know what? Often we are not. Because we hurt each other so deeply, or we just rub each other the wrong ways, or we annoy each other to such a point. And you know what we need then? Reconciliation. We just need to be Jesus for a minute. We just need to go, you know what? It's okay. It's gone. We're family. Because no matter how much you try to figure it out, you're mess against mess. It's just mess squared. It doesn't mean, two messes make a right. It doesn't work like that. Two messes make Jesus, right? And we need to go to Him, and that's reconciliation. Realizing that through communion, through His sacrifice, we can be reconciled to each other. Does that mean we see everything the same way? No, it doesn't. It means that Jesus fills that gap. That Jesus covers that over, not us. The only way that we can remain together, the only way that we can be family, the only way that we can survive is through communion, through the cross of Christ, through reconciliation. So as you take communion this morning, I want you to realize what you're participating in. You take that little piece of bread and that fruit of the vine. You're saying and you're participating in, I'm reconciled. I'm reconciled to God. I'm reconciled to Jesus. I don't earn it. I don't deserve it. Thank you, Jesus. But I also now have the power to be reconciled with anybody and everybody. Because Jesus gives me that power, not me. I can't forgive everything. But with Jesus, I can. With the cross of Christ, I can. It's the power of the cross. We can be forgiven, and we can forgive. And we can be in communion with one another. We can be in family with one another. Not because we've earned it. Not because we're so great, but because of Jesus. Let's give thanks for the body of Jesus. Heavenly Father, we thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you that you know us so well. And you knew, God, and you know that we will mess up, that we will sin, that we will hurt each other. And we continue to do that over time. But you sent your Son, Jesus, thank you. And he lived here, and he died on the cross, and you raised him from the dead. Why? So that we could conquer. So that we could be forgiven. So that we could be in a saved, eternal relationship with you. And Father, so that we also then could turn around and be reconciled with our brothers and sisters and others. That we could forgive like you forgive. And God, give us the strength, give us the power as we take communion this morning. Help us realize, each and every one of us, that the power resides in the cross, resides in you. Thank you for this time to remember. Thank you for this time to focus on that. I pray that we will walk away changed, resolved, reconciled. Not because we can, but because you can. Father, we love you. We praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me so